This is Bill McMinn from Eagleville Bible Church, and this is the Way to Go podcast, where we talk about faith, family, and daily life, putting the Bible into practical, everyday terms. Welcome to the Way to Go podcast. Bill McMinn, Eric Barfell, live at the moment.
Not when you're watching.
We're here, not when you're watching. Next week. No, here we are at the church. We're bringing podcasts back. We have one. This is the second one that we've, and coming back to it. So glad to be here. I just sketched out an idea of passage. I've thought about this passage so many times, and I'm saying back when I was young in ministry and I would see other churches and the way they handled people and dealt with people, and it's just such a great one on leadership. It says that, now this is from Mark 10, verse 41. When the 10 heard about this, they became indignant with James and John, because James and John just asked for the special seats when Jesus came into his kingdom. We want to be left and right. Jesus called them together. So now he's got a problem, because the others are indignant. They're mad at him. And in the one account, like, this stuff is going on like right after the Lord's Supper on the night he's getting crucified too, which is really rough. But this one here, he goes, "You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." Now, we'll talk about leadership in general. I do like the idea of don't lord it over them. And so a guy comes in the other day, and he is telling me we're talking about his work and stuff, and what goes on, and he's very laid back, very nice. And he just said, "Well, I just don't know how to, like, be authoritative, let's say, or get into that mode." I said, "Well, look," I said, "this is authority to me. Authority to me is like my 17 that I have in my home, 17 being a rifle, a varmint rifle. It's something, if groundhogs get out of hand, I'm pulling out the 17. I don't take the 17 with me everywhere. I don't take it to the grocery store. I don't bring it to church. It's not sitting here at the office. It's usually not even visible in my house." That's how I look at authority. I get out authority when I need to. I don't believe I need to carry it with me everywhere. And if you feel like at your work or for your boss that you have to carry, like, I've got to carry authority with me everywhere so people listen, I think you need to come back to this passage here and consider this. We're not supposed to be lording that over people. Authority, sure, if you have to play that card, yeah, there are times for sure. I'm sure you as a youth pastor, there are probably times when you got to say, "I'm telling you to do it. I'm not going to ask you again. Just do it." Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. That's a little bit of authority.
Absolutely.
Right. But you don't need to start your youth group out that way. As soon as the kids get in there, go sit down.
Right.
And we've all seen people like that. Not a lot of them, but like that with kids or anything. And it's like, okay.
Good way to kill the vibe, kill the mood. Speaking from experience, it's a good way to just destroy the audience immediately.
Right. So, I mean, if people are going along and they're listening, and, like for that guy, and he's working with a bunch of different people, I'm like, look, if you're doing well and the people are doing well and they're responding, they're doing their jobs, like, what are we even talking about? Why would you even need to be,
right,
let's say, authoritarian, because you're getting the job done relationally, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's even our students, we go on a mission trip every year through an organization called Leader Treks, and they teach us leadership principles. So students have opportunities to lead, and you can always tell who's kind of been on the trip before or has been given a leadership opportunity in school, on the field, whatever. Because some just take that as like, oh, I get to do all the work by myself. It's like, well, no, you're on a team. So when you're doing all the work by yourself, look around. You got your teammates, 4 of the people standing here doing nothing, waiting for you to give them something to do.
Right.
And this guy's I saw it years ago, this guy is so frustrated. He can't figure out, we're working on this deck. It's hotter than heck in Kentucky. It's like, my guy, you have your whole team standing over here, and you're frustrated as can be, and you're doing all the work.
Right.
Share the load, ask for help, but give him something to do. He just like, I don't know if it was just his natural instinct, but he just wanted to, I don't know, be the one doing it all. And I always think about this, like, you just doing everything and not sharing the load. You're just going to hold it over everyone and look at what you did, give the team zero credit.
I would agree. I would say that's part of leadership is delegation. It's just the ability to delegate and get other people involved and not take over everything. My terminology that I use all the time is I like to let people shine. I don't even know if that's like a real word or right word. I mean, I know shine is a word. I'm saying the way I use it, I like to give them their chance.
Yeah. You make them a star. Absolutely.
Yeah. You can put it that way. And not that they want to be a star, because I'm sure they don't, but just to lead and to show what kind of talents they have. Because to me, it helps them and develop them along, especially as you have leadership types, to give them something to do and participate. And a lot of times they're super excited about it, and they're involving a lot of other people too, which is wonderful. I've seen so much good come out of it, because the church is a big entity in itself, especially Eagleville Bible Church. And you look around at all the moving parts that we have in this church. And the reason that we've been able to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish is not because, let's say, just you and me are here and Bradley and Aaron. I mean, we're able to do what we do because there's a lot of other people. You got Rita, who runs food, and you got Sheila, who's doing nursery. And it's just a great example of a servant. Doesn't say much about it, just works hard, does her thing. You've got some of the gals running Woven. You have Jay Shadle that ran BBS, and this goes on and on and on and on and on and on. We wouldn't accomplish what we're able to accomplish without that. I mean, we wouldn't be packing lunches for kids. Like, we are not packing lunches for children as a church. Sending that 89 lunches a week they pack.
Wow.
We wouldn't be doing that if it weren't for somebody stepping up, feeling that God was leading them, and us saying, hey, great. And they have a chance to run that. They lead it. It's no interference from us. The only thing, my only input there at all, hey, how you doing on Friday mornings? And I'll help them sometimes carry their bags out, get them ready and help them load them into the vehicle. That's like the extent of what I do there. Most of it's just fellowship. Come in and say, hi, I appreciate what they do. I wouldn't have been doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even saying that I would have thought about it. Steve and Aaron at one time did it for a time. They had thought about it, but it wasn't something not on my radar. But that's the beauty of the church, is because other people have different concepts and different things that God lays on their heart, and then they get to do it. And what are they doing? They're serving. They're not, I don't think of any of these people, I think, and that's Angela Young too at the Vine, or guys or gals. Like, I don't see anyone out there like lording it over. It always seems, when I see people working together, they just seem to be getting along with decorating the church, undecorating the church, whatever it may be. They're just doing their thing, and they always need some guidance. Like, trust me, if it's decorating the church time, I need a Bobby over there telling, no, the tree goes here or there. Like, we want the guidance, or, hey, we're stringing lights this way. We need that. We definitely need the leader and the spark plug. But for most of those people, they're just there to serve.
Yeah. Which is excellent, because that's exactly what we need. We don't need more chiefs. We need more Indians,
Right. Well, I think we have a lot of both. I think that, but we have a lot of servants is what we have. And I think we have a lot of leaders who serve, not a lot of authoritarian. Where I used to see the authoritarian issue come into play was, and I never want us to get that way. Once in a while, I might hear a hint of it from somebody, but they would say, let's say if somebody had questions about what was going on at the church. So they would come and say, why are we doing this? And this is, Eagleville, this time's a small church, that church, small church. And they would tell their people, well, we're the spiritual leaders, and we're telling you what to do, and we're telling you what we're doing, and we're not going to answer your questions, and we're not going to explain it. And I would hear people tell me these stories as they left in droves, and I was shocked. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, why would you say that to somebody? What are you talking about? You're the authority, and they just need to listen, and they're not even allowed to ask a question. Why in the world are you not? I'm always prepared to answer questions. I have no problem with questions. It doesn't matter. People ask stuff. It's fine. Right?
Yeah, no, it should be. You need to have that transparency as well.
Right.
You can ask questions. Not dictatorship.
Yeah,
leadership.
And here's the
a
thing.
Big difference.
Right. And it doesn't, well, being a leader doesn't mean you have all the answers right away either. I mean, sometimes you know exactly what that path is, and sometimes you're not so sure. I mean, you think you do. Sometimes you think you do, but I'm always one of those ones. If I feel like I have a path that God wants me to take and I feel like I'm on it, I'm going to look for scripture to back that up. But I'm going to look for confirmation. And if I got a bunch of people telling me, heck no, we're not doing it, that's not the confirmation I'm looking for.
Right.
Now I'm starting to think, okay, we got to pray about this more. We got to think about this more, because this is obviously, we're not in that place right now, because I'm not going to be authoritarian. I'm not going to force it down your throat. I'm going to try to listen. And why? Because you're here to keep peace. You're here to work as a team. You got to listen to other people, so on and so forth. I think all those things are super important.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, and I mean, kind of go back to my story, also giving people a job, you know, delegating, getting more people involved if you need more people, but also like, it's not really leadership if you're just taking the brunt of the work and doing everything yourself, but getting other people sharing in the load and, accomplishing more. And again, like we talked about in the previous episode, it's like having that common goal in mind.
Right.
We're all working towards the same goal. That's who you want to have on your team.
Well, one thing too, like you're right. I mean, you do need servants, and you need other people with a servant's heart, because what people don't like to feel like is being alone. And that's one of the things. Sometimes if you feel like you're doing everything alone and you're by yourself and you don't have help, it's highly frustrating. And I would take it from the perspective of a wife. I'm sure that my wife has felt that way at times, is I'm doing everything. I think there are times I felt that, not with Jerry ever, but with the kids at times. It's, hey, I used to come in some nights and I'd really give them a hard time because I had been working all week, and then a Saturday, let's say I had a wedding, and then the rehearsal, you get back, and I saw at the back of the floors, they're all comfortably watching TV. So I would tell them, hey, don't worry about it. Super Dad's got it. Super Dad, he does everything. He works all week. He comes in on Saturday. He does a wedding. He goes to the reception, and he comes home and he sweeps the floor while you guys are sitting here. And man, I would razz them. Oh man, I would razz them so bad about it. Don't worry about a thing, because I try to encourage them. Hey, you got to step up too. You know what I'm saying? You got to, if you see something's a mess, feel free, just clean it up. If you see the trash needs taken out, just take it out. You don't have to be asked to do all that kind of stuff. Just, you see it's a problem, see it's a mess, just straighten it up. That's all.
Yeah, another thing I've learned over the years is, as far as being a volunteer, if you do nothing as a volunteer, you don't feel super valued, so you won't want to continue. But if you feel like you're doing everything, you don't feel like super appreciated, kind of. So it's like trying to find the fine line of valuing your volunteers, giving encouragement and praises.
Yeah, that's a great statement.
But not where they're doing everything.
Well, I do feel that, you know, if people come in and they're asking for stuff to do and you're like, no, we got it. Sometimes I'm willing to say, no, we'll find something for that person. If it's VBS and some 16-year-old kid wants to serve, or somebody is brand new to the church, they're coming up to me, they're saying, hey, I'd like to get involved somehow. I'm going to look. If I have that ability, I want to see him get involved, because I know how frustrating it is to come and ask, hey, can I help? No, it's nothing for you to do here. You're like, oh, okay. So, and you're going to, like you said, you're going to kind of vamoose and go on somewhere else because there's no room for you there. You want to help, but you can't help. So, and once in a while that's happened to us. I'm not going to say it hasn't happened to us as a church. I think over the years I've heard that sometimes, where somebody would say, you always feel really badly about it, but hey, I tried to help out, and you know, I told them I wanted to help in June church, and no one got back to me, and it was never intentional. It's not that you didn't want to. It's just, you know how it is. Somebody forgot. You say it to them on a Sunday. Yeah. Totally whipped on it. I'm sure I've whipped on things too. We all have. But as much as we can, it's good to get those people involved. I think that is a great point. People who want to serve and come up to you, they want to serve. But also, as you're serving, as I've mentioned it, he didn't say don't be a leader. He said just don't lord it over them. He said instead, whoever wants to become great must be your servant. And I've often found this, and here's a statement. I want to know what you thought about it. Think about this. Here's what I see sometimes. People want people to lead until they do. And then when they do, they don't. So, because all of a sudden the person who is the leader said something they didn't like.
Right.
So then they'll go out and crucify the leadership for it and say, oh, terrible, terrible leadership. No, you just didn't hear what you wanted to hear. So my daughter, she calls me up the other day, and she has this person just chewing her ear off. She helps people in school, and she doesn't like the way the finances went at the university where my daughter's working. And so she just keeps telling my daughter, you won't give me an answer. You won't give me an answer. She said, I've given you an answer. You've talked to two people in front of me. The problem isn't we're not giving you an answer. The problem is you don't want to hear the answer we're giving. And you want to keep talking to us until we change our mind, which we can't. and do, because she wanted extra money that she's not entitled to, and she wanted them giving it to her like it's for free.
Right.
And she said, no, that's not how this works. Here's how it works. I can't get any answers. No, you just can't get the answer you want. And that's the difference. Sometimes I see that in church too.
Right.
It's like, it's not that you didn't get an answer. You just didn't like the answer.
Yeah.
You whined about someone leading. They did. You just didn't like the tack they took, meaning the direction they took. You didn't like it.
Right.
Maybe they appointed someone you wanted another person to, whatever it is. They were still leading.
Right.
You're complaining about them leading. Yeah, you don't like it, but as soon as they do lead and make a decision, now you're going to complain about that.
Yeah. Like having a boundary in place kind of comes to mind. Being able to say no,
right?
Being able to hear and take no is a big thing as well.
For a leader, you're saying?
Either.
As a servant.
As a servant, are you able to be told no?
Right.
In the case you're giving, it's like, well, no, you just don't like the answer. You're being told what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. There's a big difference.
Well, I will say this, and Jesus Christ didn't make everyone happy either. You're not going to make everyone happy when you're leading. I think the key for us is to be tuned in with what God wants us to do, to be serving, and to get that clarity. And to know that, hey, this is a direction I believe that God wants us to go at this time. You do your best with it. Right. I've often said this too, the prerogative of leadership is to be wrong. And meaning this, not that you always get it right. I mean, I'm not saying that every decision that anyone makes or that I've made was always per se the right one. It's just you make the best decision at the moment that you're in. And I've talked to people, they'll beat themselves up with either how they raised their kids or what they said or didn't say. I said, listen, at the time you made the decision, you made it with the information you had at that moment. You made the best decision that you could. Now you're looking at it 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, whatever it is, with a bunch of hindsight and also with a bunch of information you did not have at that moment. I said, I've tried not to look back on that stuff for me personally. I've tried to just say, hey, you can't second guess yourself. You made a decision with the information you had at that time. You made the best decision that you could at that time. And now you have to move on. No time to think about other things, right? So you got other things that are ahead of you. You got to be focused on that now. So you can't be spending your life looking in the rearview mirror. Yeah. So as a leader, you've got to lead. I mean, he expects us to lead, but that leadership should come out of a heart of service and just wanting to help others. And I love the last verse because Jesus Christ, he said this, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve and to give my life a ransom for many. If you look at church, and what that would mean is we're not just consumers. We're producers.
Exactly.
Zeke is a huge consumer. He's a producer of messes. Like that's what he produces. He produces messes and noise and all kinds of stuff, right? And he's wild at times, which I do like, and he's a lot of fun. Someday he's going to be a producer. There's going to be some day where he's going to be out with me picking strawberries and not eating every one he comes across. You know what I'm saying? He's actually going to be picking and understanding, like, we're using this for something else. Like, he's going to be actually helping, and I look forward to that day. And I told Jerry, he's so cute now, and I enjoy it. But, I'm going to enjoy those days when I can take him fishing, too. I'm going to enjoy those days when he's a little bit older and he can handle a little bit more. And that's going to be fun as well.
Yep.
Every age, right?
When we make pizza, Gia's always like, oh, can I do the cheese? I said, no. Well, why not? Gia, you don't put the cheese on the pizza. You just eat the cheese straight out the bag.
Right.
That's you're the consumer. We're trying to make the pizzas here. You're working against me, girl.
Our idea of making cookies would be licking the batters.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Picking out the chocolate chips.
Do they even lick batters anymore? Do they? They still do. Aaron says they still do. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't had one to lick in a long time. I used to love it. It used to be one of my favorite things, man. If they were making cookies or cake or something like that, being able to lick that batter, that was like the best. But don't lord it over. I guess just going back to what he said, don't lord it over people. Don't have that authoritarian attitude. I don't think it's ever worked. It definitely doesn't work in modern America. Like that whole mentality, telling people what to do, like that just does not work. Like relationships work, building that, serving, teamwork, all those things work. This kind of stuff, what he was saying to his own disciples, like, guys, you're thinking about who's above who else. Like, stop thinking that way. That's not important. Think about service. So that's what we encourage you to think about. Think about service. We hope that you all have an awesome and a blessed week.